Pin tucks are a super beautiful detail that a garment can have, and today we are seeing a blouse with that detail. It's way easier than you think, I promise. So one of the most beautiful blouses I've ever made, I'm being honest. Keep watching. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a beautiful blouse to share with you. One of the most beautiful ones I've made in a while. I always say that because I always fall in love with my makes, but there's definitely some projects that after they're done, it's an internal wow that you feel, wow, I can't believe I made this, how beautiful is this? And this is the Byrdie button-up shirt from Pattern Scout. This is a pattern that got most votes in the Orchid Tea on Patreon, and it's a pattern I sewed from start to finish in March, and I was very happy that that pattern won the votes because it's one I wanted to sew for a very long time. I've really loved the patterns that I've sewn from Pattern Scout before. I think they are really good patterns, and I love that she makes woven patterns mostly, so that's always a plus for me. This shirt, you get a lot of value in this pattern because there's actually two views and they're quite different. They have different pattern pieces as well. View A would be your more traditional shirts. Both of these views can be a dress as well, shirt dress. View A has a collar stand and a collar and a more traditional look, bust pockets, and at the back there's a box pleat. View B, which is the one I chose to sew, has only the collar band, not the collar, and then at the front you have pin tucks that go all the way down to the waist, and at the back instead of that box pleat you have little pin tucks, 4 of them, so cute. If you're making a shirt, you have a curved hem. There's also a pattern piece there, optional if you want to make yourself a sash with the same fabric if you're doing the shirt dress. I really wanted to make the shirt dress. That was my plan, but because I chose view B, just laying out my pattern pieces, I realized that view B, which has the pin tucks, takes up more fabric than the standard would because the front piece is so wide because it has those pin tucks. Basically the front piece takes up the whole length of fabric. The sleeves are traditional set-in sleeves. The shoulder is meant to hit the shoulder, it's not a drop shoulder, and then you have the sleeves gathered into a little cuff. You also have the proper placket here on the cuff, which is a very nice technique that I love sewing, designed for light to medium weight wovens. I always separate these types of fabrics into 2 types, one that will give you a more structured look, one that will give you a more flowy look. So if you're looking for a more structured look, I think a linen, a lightweight denim, chambray, shirting, poplin, that type of fabric will be super easy to manipulate, mark and sew, and then it will give you that structured look. I would sew view A with one of these fabrics. I think I would prefer to sew the pin tucks on something more flowy, like Tencel, Rayon challis, Rayon twill, even 100% Rayon, it will be a bit more fiddly. Rayon linen blend is the fabric that I've chosen. I had a look at what it was made out of, and it's 84% Rayon, 14% linen. That little bit of linen just gives it a different look, and it makes it more medium weight. It's not so light like that 100% Rayon that's really light. You could choose crepe, you could choose silk if you wanted to be more adventurous. Lots of fabric types will work. It just depends on what the look is that you're going for. Sizes 0 to 28 are included, and there are separate bust cup size pieces for B, C and D cup sizes. The pattern does give you a little chart in the instructions on how to choose your cup size. It gives you a range rather than a fixed number. So you can see there that from 1 to 2 you would sew a B cup, from 2 inches to 3 inches difference between the high and the full bust you would sew a C, and then from 3 to 4 you would sew a D cup. So you could choose. I would rather stick to the typical 2 inches is a B cup, 3 inches is a C cup, 4 inches is a D. I just think when you have a choice, I think someone can get confused. So I know I'm a C cup, I'll just go with a C cup right there. The most important measurements here are the high bust and the hips, because the waist has a lot of ease. Depends on the cup size you're sewing, you'll have 4 to 6 inches of positive ease at the bust, and at the hips also depends on the view you're sewing and the cup size, because each cup size will add a bit of extra ease to the waist and the hips. So anywhere from 11, 12, 13 inches of ease at the hips is what you'll get. The cup sizes of course will make the fit of the shoulders and the bust really good, and that's what you want. It's always the aim actually with any garment that's just a little bit more relaxed fit, that this part fits beautifully, and then if it's more relaxed at the waist and hips, it's not going to look boxy like a sack on you, it's going to fit properly. So bust cup sizes help a great deal. For this pattern you choose your size based on your high bust. So you can see on the chart there that my bust at 40 inches, fits into 16, and then my full hip is also size 16, but then my full bust and my waist are a little over the size 16, but then you have the cup sizes coming into play. When we look at finished garment measurements down below in the chart, you'll see the finished circumference on the bust for a size 16 and a C cup, and you see that for my body measurements I'll get 5 inches of positive ease at the bust, which is perfect, and I'll get 13 inches at the hips for view B, which is the one I'm sewing with the pin tucks. So I'm very happy to actually sew the size that I have to sew. I'm not going to blend out at the waist. I'm not going to do that because there's a lot of ease at the waist. So don't worry about the waist. I think in this pattern, if you've been following along my woven top fitting series, you know I'm dedicating that to simple tops. But actually some of the same concepts apply to these shirts and blouses that aren't too simple. The length adjustments, how to blend your size, all that applies to these types of garments as well. I did all my measurements for length, which is really easy to do on this pattern because the pattern piece actually has a line that says bust height, has a line for the waist. You don't have to guess where the designer placed that on the drafting, so you know you can measure. The bust height on the pattern was 3/8 of an inch too high, and so was the waist. I basically needed a longer waist and a lower dart, so you can fix that in one go. I'll put a graphic here so you can see I added my own shorten and lengthen line above the bust dart and added the 3/8 there. That means that my bust dart will go down 3/8, which is what I needed, and also my waist. So it's fixing two length issues in one go up here in this area. Easy fix, and 3/8 is all I needed to customize the length of this pattern to me. What we'll see in Up Close and So Personal is focused on these pin tags. They are easier than what you think. There are different ways to sew them, and I've done a video showing another way to sew pin tags that are totally different. Those were top stitched down, these aren't. These are actually seen on the outside of the garment, so you'll see how to sew them. Also how to finish those ends, because you want those ends to be super neat, not have back tacking there. Very practical. I'm sure if you've been avoiding designs with pin tags because you think they're hard, you're going to change your mind after you see how easy these are. So let's hop in to see. I have my left front piece here and I've got my right one separately. I'm going to mark all the pin tags on the right side of the fabric. There's no other way to do it. The construction method has you sew them from the right, so all the lines have to be made from the right. On the wrong side of the pattern, I had marked my waistline right there, so I've just transferred that line up to here, up to the right side of the fabric, so I can see, because the pin tags will be sewn up to there. And here on the edge of the neckline, it will be all wavy and it will have all different shapes because it's been trued for these pin tags once they've sewn. From the center front here, you will find a line that is for the first fold at 5/8, and then an inch here that will be the integrated button bands, the one that will have the buttons on this side. This is the left side. And then here you will find the first mark on the top. You'll find one there, there, there. Every inch you'll find a mark on the top, and there's 8 of them. So from here down, you need to mark straight down to the waist, and then an inch away from that one, an inch away from that one, going all the way up, matching those little marks on the top. So the way I'm doing it is with this clear ruler. I can see through it, and I've made my first line. You can't see it. I can see it, but it's very faint, and it's done with a friction pen. Red, I know it'll come off. And the friction pen gives me a line that is very, very exact, very accurate. And I'll show you a little bit up close, maybe you'll see. This is the first line. It will go all the way down to the waist mark. And here comes the second line. And here's a notch that was marked there on the top. And then another one right there. You can see the next one is coming here. So for my next line, I'm going to place my clear ruler where that notch is. And it matches exactly an inch underneath here that I can see right there. And then I can draw my second line, and I'll be super accurate and be straight all the way down to the waist. After that line, I'll move up, and the next notch is right there in the middle of this flat section. There is the next one, and the next one. So I'll be very, very careful and take my time to make these 8 lines all across the front, on the left, and then on the right as well. I've been very careful to mark my lines. Some of them you might not be able to see them. I'll make sure I have extra lights when I'm sewing. On the left front, the distance between the center front and the first line going down is larger because this has the integrated button band that's partially interfaced. But on the right, it'll be shorter. It'll start around there, so your first line will be much closer to the edge. I have drawn mine on both of my fronts. There's no way you can stay stitch this prior to doing the pin tucks. I want to be very careful with manipulation here and not just be throwing this around before I get it done, obviously. I've chosen this because it makes a very accurate line. You can see how fine the line is and how well I will be able to fold this onto itself, guiding myself on the line. I won't be able to press until I have all these pin tucks done, or else I'm going to lose all my marks. You know, this goes away with heat. So I won't be pressing as I go. I would not want to do this with a chalk. I think the marks would be too wide, and I'm pretty sure the inch between them would not be as accurate as it is with a friction pen. Some of the marks are going through the black and through the blue, but I can still see the ink marks if I have good lighting. That's what I've done. I have the back piece extended and the neckline is down here, the shoulders, as you can see. In the center area, there's also 4 marks on the neckline. You actually cut it on the fold. So it's from here that you'll see 2 marks that say B. I'll show you that on the pattern piece in a sec. The same way I mark the pin tucks on the front, I mark them here. You have to mark them for 4 inches from the edge of the neckline down. And it's 4 marks 1 inch apart. So I'll see if you can see that up closer. Okay, so there is the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. The center of the back is right there in between those 2. So these pin tucks will be sewn there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the bulk of the pin tuck will be pressed towards the center like this, like that, and on the other side that way and that way. So that's what happens to the center back. This is the center back right there, the paper, and you can see a line that says B and then another one that says B. That's for view B, the one that has the pin tuck. So those are the marks that you do there. So that'll be one of those, and then on the other side, that one and that one. If you're doing view A, there's just a box pleat and you ignore these marks, and this is where you would sew a box pleat like that. With view A, which is the regular shirt without the pin tucks. I've got the back pattern piece and I'm going to start sewing the pin tucks on the back. They are tiny, they are short, and it's the same technique that we'll do with the longer pin tucks on both front pieces. I think if we see these first, we get a better grasp on how to do the other ones. What we need to do is take the first line and fold our fabric wrong sides together. You can see the fabric is wrong sides together along that line. Now the instructions mentions the iron. You can iron this, but if I go anywhere near my iron, I'm going to lose my marks because the friction pen will disappear. So I will not be using my iron at all. You can see that I've got this pinned and my line is right there in the center. Now I'm going to sew this pin tuck with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I will be swapping my presser foot for my 1/4 inch foot so that everything is very accurate. It just makes it easier, so why not? I can see here the 4 inches of where I'm going to stop. This is a seam that you won't back tack. You just leave long threads and you'll pull them all towards the back because this is on the right side. You will see it if you do the back stitching on the bottom. If you back stitch on the top, it doesn't matter. It's a neckline and it will be, you know, inside the collar band. So I will back stitch at the top. And I stopped right where I needed to, and you just leave these threads there. These are 4 short pin tucks, and on the front pieces you have 8 on each side. So there's 16 in total of the long ones. So now we go to the next line. We can see it clearly marked there, and I'll do the same. We've got 2 done there. You can see this is not hard. It's not hard to do. It's just not fast, and marking accurately also is not fast, but the actual pin tucks as such is not hard. And I've got good lighting here on top of me so that I can really see what I'm doing. Okay, and now we have the 4th pin tuck here on the center back. I think if you're working with linen or cotton, you could finger press these and you would be super fine. I think you probably wouldn't even need to put any pins if you were able to finger press this. Look how cute that is there on the top. Now these are pressed towards the center. I'm going to sew with the same 1/4 inch seam allowance to base them together. It will be within the seam allowance of the collar later. I'm going to show you how I'm going to deal with these on one of these, because I'll be doing them all the same. I'll just use a big needle for this and thread this to the other side so that I have both threads together right there. Then when they're on the other side together, I'm going to rethread them together through there. That's why you want a large needle. And I'm going to push this to the back on the stitch that came above that. So where the thread is coming out of the fabric, I'll take the stitch right above that and I'll go right in there and I'll come out through the back. And inside I'm going to do a little knot here, catching that stitch, the last one, with this thread. So that will secure this pin tuck on the wrong side of the fabric, and on the right side it looks very neat. You can see it stops there. There's no back stitching, there's no bulk, everything's been taken towards the back. And so I'll just take my time and do all these in one go. Here I have my left front. Later on, after all the pin tucks are done, this is folded in by 5/8 and then by 1 inch, and that is how the button band is going to be on the left side. That's where the buttons are going to go, but let's ignore that for now. And here we have our first line. It starts here and it finishes there. It goes up to the waist. Here I have the first one pinned. After sewing the first 3 tucks, where I was pinning, sewing, I went ahead and did an experiment and just pinned all the rest. So I have them all the 8 of them. And this one here, the 4th one, I've sewn it with the other ones having the pins there, and you can do it. There is enough space. So you just have to flip that all out of the way, and you will feel the bulk here with all the pins, but you can perfectly sew the tuck. And I think I'm much more effective if I have to do the same task on the whole thing rather than pinning, sewing, you know. You can see that I'm not catching the pin tuck that's coming under there, that's pinned. It's free. I do have enough space to be able to do this, so you might want to try this. So on the top I have a lot of threads to snip away. All these tucks need to be pressed in towards the center. Here is the center, and that's how the neckline has been trued to shape. I'm going to go ahead and stay stitch this neckline and baste them together at the same time, and I'll do it from the wrong side. If I do it from the wrong side, I'll have the tucks pointing in this way, and it's easier to sew like that for me. The tucks are part of the shoulder seam there, and then this is the neckline here. Make sure they're all going towards the center. Okay, so the left side is done. I still haven't made it to the ironing board. I've pressed my pin tucks all towards the center that way. I hope you can see how pretty this is. It's so pretty. Definitely worth taking the time it takes. You can see that sewing them is not hard, it's just not fast. It's not something that you'll get done really quickly. It's just not about that. And you know, my philosophy about sewing is not sewing fast. I'm never aiming to get a thing done really fast, you know, those 1 hour tops. Yeah, no, there are moments of course where those projects are really appreciated. You're just sewing a really quick neat top, you know, you can whip that up in an hour. But these woven projects are not like that. They just require a bit more dedication, and just the overall satisfaction of finishing a project like this is so much higher in my opinion. So nothing about fast sewing, just dedication, nothing hard, just a little bit of precision in the marking, in the folding, in the pinning. It's just a bunch of straight seams really, a lot of nice straight seams, and the 1/4 inch presser foot helps a great deal. If you don't have one, why don't you have one? They are very affordable. Please get one if you don't, because it's going to help your precision in sewing so much. It's not just for people that sew quilts. When we're making clothes, we can use that presser foot, and I use that all the time. You've noticed I use that all the time. Here's my Byrdie blouse. It's so beautiful. There are a couple of things I changed in the construction, not in the way that I sewed things, but in the way I placed some pattern pieces. So this collar band has two pieces, obviously. One is interfaced, one is not interfaced. The way I sewed it meant that the interfaced collar band is going to be on the outside and the non-interfaced one is going to be on the inside. And that's inverse to what the pattern instructions said. Now there's no right and wrong way to do this. You'll find instructions that do it one way or the other in a lot of patterns in books. There's no way that is 100% correct in sewing. There's always different ways. And I prefer to leave my interface collar band on the outside because it's smoother. And the one touching your skin is not interface, is going to be softer. And I did the exact same thing with the cuffs. The cuffs is a rectangle that you interface half of it and the other half is not interfaced. Also here I left the part of the cuff that's into the outside, the one that's interfaced, and when this is folded in, the non-interfaced cuff area is on the inside. There you can see it overlap, and I've got two little buttons. View B has the sleeve gathered into the cuff. View A, which is the one I didn't make, has pleats instead. Just small changes really. I hope the camera can focus really well on this placket. It's so pretty, it's very easy to do, it's not hard at all. I really enjoyed sewing that. With this print, it's not a detail that's going to stand out a lot, like people aren't going to notice. I know that it's there. Both were fun to sew and I love that it's there. It's very neat, took a little while, but so worth it. There are different ways to do this, you know, some shirts don't have this at all. They will just not have anything, they'll just have a cuff that has enough ease for you to put your hand in. The other way that you'll find that is also very pretty and very delicate, and I like that for very light fabrics like chiffon, is just a continuous binding. You'll see how to do that in the Mila shirt from Itch to Stitch. I showed how to do that one. But this has the proper placket and I really enjoyed that one. What you'll find in both view A and view B is that the left side and the right side are finished differently here for the buttons. The side that is on your left has an integrated button band, means that the piece is wider and you fold it onto itself, partially interfaced. It's just folded in and top stitched down, and that's where the buttons are. On the right side though, it's the same pattern piece, but there's a line that you fold away. Your right piece ends up being narrower because you have a separate button placket that you cut out for the right side, and that is sewn onto there. It's a totally different piece. It's interfaced inside also partially, and it just gives the right side that is going to have the button holes more stability. I really love that technique. I really enjoy it. If I had to choose, I really enjoy having a separate placket for the right side. You won't find that in all shirt or blouse patterns, just on some. And here you can see the really small pin tucks, super cute on the back. There's two there and two there. They're both pressed to the center. And then you have a little bit of ease right there. The same thing is accomplished with view A. It's just a box pleat. But keeping it consistent, I think the pin tucks go really well with the pin tucks that are on the front. And I can't tell you how much I love these. I've just been staring at them so much and touching them, and when you wear this and you just glance down like that, you can see them, and I'm like stroking them. It must seem crazy, but I just love them so much. So pretty. Down at the bottom you have a curved hem. You can see that the pin tucks reach the waist. That's why I really wanted the waist reference on the pattern to actually be at my waist, because that's where the pin tucks are going to. So I didn't want them finishing higher or lower, you know, I wanted them to actually be at my waist. 8 here, 8 there, that's 16 plus these 4. There's 20 pin tucks to sew. Really enjoyable, really fun. And you see that you don't need to go to the ironing board at all. You don't need to be pressing every single one, getting up, sewing, pressing. You don't need to. And the way I marked mine with a friction pen made that impossible. So I just sewed them all in one go. Very enjoyable, and I've said that a lot. It's because it really was. I was really enjoying myself sewing these pin tucks, how they were going to look and make this blouse extra special, which it is. My Byrdie button up. This is view B, that just has a collar band, pin tucks right here, and it's very lovely to wear. Lots of nice ease, lots of lovely details, very lovely, and I love this fabric for it. It's drapey but medium weight. Closer you can see that the fit is pretty relaxed. You'll be very comfortable to go out in something like this. I can just see this as a dress. It would be so lovely because all this ease would continue down towards the hip, and the pin tucks give it shape there. I really enjoy that. This was brought in with the pin tucks up to the waist, so lovely. I think it gives the garment some shape. It's not a box, it's a very lovely fit, and it's got your shirt tail hem. I really like this length. There is my cuff with 2 little buttons, gathers into the cuff, so pretty. Very lovely details to sew. Hard to see my placket there, but it is there and it's very neat. This is the other side, barely noticeable because of the print, but it is right there. A closer look at these pin tucks, they all press to the center. There's 8 on each side. They start here at the shoulders and they end up at the waist. So pretty, so lovely, just such a lovely detail. Here you can see my little collar band. I didn't bother to put a button or anything there because I will never wear it like this. I just find that too constricting. I'd rather just have this open, and the first button starts a little below there. I think that's how naturally I would wear my blouse. So I'm never going to do extra buttonholes and put buttons where I'm not going to use it. It's a really narrow, delicate collar band, very pretty. I really love these pin tucks. I can't stop touching them. They're so nice to touch and they're nicer even to look at. So fun to sew. Very happy with this detail. Definitely not the last time I sew something like this on a garment. You can put these types of details on other areas of other garments. So very, very excited to sew more of those in the future. Shoulder fit is good. I can move my arms with the sleeve. I hope you can see the little pin tucks at the back. Very hard to show. What I'm going to do to make the dress version, because I want to make this exact same as a shirt dress. I have a few lengths of fabric in my stash, very few that are over 3 meters. Maybe that could be enough. What I'll do is just lay the pattern pieces out on that fabric to see how much exactly I need, so I can purchase a specific fabric for it, because there's absolutely nothing in my stash with the right amount of yardage for it at the moment, but I really want to make it. So I'll look into that, and I'll probably do a short sleeve as well. I think that's nice, although I don't think you can always do that. I'd be really happy to shorten the sleeves. Have a look at this pattern if you want to make yourself a really nice shirt dress with options. I will link the pattern down in the description box. It's not an affiliate link. I'm not affiliated to the pattern company, so I don't make a commission or anything like that. I'm really recommending the pattern because I think it's a really nice one. The fact that I sewed it differently, you know, having facing in different areas is just personal preference. You can always choose what you prefer, and that's what I did here. But it's a really nice pattern. It fits amazing. The bust cup sizes are so nice, and it's just an overall great experience. Now I'm excited to put pin tucks on other places. I can just see and imagine how I'm going to apply pin tucks on other garments and just add the width. I like the separation that these ones had, that the lines were 1 inch apart and then that you sew them at 1/4 inch. I think it's pretty, and I would like to replicate exactly this on other things because it's pretty and I want to do it again. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.